Proscribing the IPOB, telling us that IPOB is a terrorist organization, and many of you, as educated as you claim to be, agreed to that. Some of you came by to say it's just a precautionary step in order for IPOB not to turn to terrorism. Really? A non-violent organization that has been in existence all this while, an organization recognized by the African Charter for Indigenous People, the organization recognized by the United Nations as Indigenous People of Biafra, and your government came out to tell you that they are a terrorist organization, and a spokesman for the president came out to tell us that Fulani herdsmen are just gang of criminals. But IPOB is a terrorist organization. And many of you will come out to claim you are so educated, you are so exposed, you understand, democracy. And your government is using the instrumentality of the state to oppress disadvantaged Nigerians in their own country. And many of you have already took side. But what I believe is you need education. You need education not because you've been through the four walls of the classrooms while growing up. That is not the education you need. The education you need right now is the constitutional education, where you get to know your right as an individual, as a Nigerian, rather than this illiterate, this half-baked, public servants telling you what you know. And I'm going to quickly ask many of you to go on Google. And those who manage to get the link should post the link in the comment section below. Search for who is a terrorist. What is terrorism? We know IPOB. We know their leader. We know their followers. They are not wearing masks. They are not hiding or having their meeting in the dark. They are not living in the bush. They are not killing people. They are not threatening to kill people. They are not harboring, they are not, keeping weapons. And the government that came out to call them terrorists, illiterates in government. They came out to tell you, as educated and as exposed as you call yourself, they tell you that a non-violent organization is a terrorist organization. And many of you are going lyrical on social media, explaining why they are terrorists, telling us that they will soon become Boko Haram. Who did this to all of you, Nigerians? Who did this to us as a people? Terrorism. When we know Shekau, we know how many people they have killed. When we know, they are suicide bombers in the north. Many of us know what is terrorism. But because of that, your political blindness, religious bigotry, your political, what else again? Your tribal, sentiment, you allow some half-baked illiterates who are in government to take advantage of you so that you will never, ever challenge your government. You will never, ever question your government. Because once you do, they can easily tag you terrorist. And guess what? They are the government. They can get the instrumentality of the state to call you terrorist. I'm very busy right now. You can't call me now. I'm sorry. You can't call me now. You can't call me now. I'm very busy. So, people are using the power of the state to mislead the country. And the educated ones are sitting by watching. They went for the Zaria, for the Shiites, or what they call them, in Zaria. But they forgot to tell you that before election, El-Zakzaky was one of their mobilizers in the north. He mobilized his followers to follow APC. When they came to power, they called him terrorist. But to prove that, they had to go into his enclave, provoke him, make them react, throw stones and every other thing at them, then they killed them. So they could at least label them terrorists. Same thing happened in Abia State, Umuahia to be precise. What did they do? They went in to provoke the civilians, make them react, then attack them, then label them terrorists. And we are all here looking at them, justifying them, and saying Nnamdi Kanu took it too far. Nnamdi Kanu took it too far. Nnamdi Kanu has a name. Nnamdi Kanu is currently in court. He is with the government. If they want to arrest him, if they want to ostracize him, if they want to keep him incommunicado, where he won't be able to reach his people, they have the instrument of the state to do that. But because that in itself is impossible for those who know their law, for those who know Nigeria law, for those who know international law, that can use this instrument to fight for their fundamental human rights. That is what Nnamdi Kanu is doing. And if his utterances are inflammatory, just like many of you want to claim, the government has the capacity to keep him away. He is attending their court. This is not about Nnamdi Kanu, and this is the reality I want many of you to know. They did it in Zaria. They did it in Benue. They did it in Southern Kaduna. They are now coming to the eastern part of the country. It is just a conqueror mentality. If anybody challenges us, crush them. Yes. As I did a video and I said, military has no place in democracy. Military has no way in our democracy. But you know what? Under the military, under the long program of a military rule in Nigeria, they intentionally destroyed Nigerian police. They destroyed Nigerian police so that they will never live up to their constitutional responsibility, keeping civilians safe. Civil cases, police handle civil cases, not military. They intentionally did that for a time like this. Our democracy was fought because we were tired of military rule. Our leaders, our fathers, our forefathers, our aged people, young and old, fought for freedom from the military. What did we get in return? We get militocracy. And because of poor education, many of you are dancing along. You are dancing along because in Nigeria today, you are raised to fear your government. You are raised to fear your military. You are raised to fear your army. Your police. You are even raised to fear those who you elected into office. This is unacceptable. Those who are back in days, do you know what they are doing? You are digging your own graves. Because when they come to you, they just need to tag you something. It doesn't matter. As long as it's against what they believe in, the people in government. In fact, it may not even be under this Buhari government. It may be under another government. Because that's what we do. We sustain brutality, assault, and rape of our constitution. That's what we do. And at the end of the day, we all come out here to cry foul, cry intimidation, cry oppression, cry marginalization. Yet, we only do when it happens to us. But when it happens to others, it's none of our business. They ask for it. They must get it. What is wrong with us? Terrorism is an act of creating fear in the people. And how do you create fear? Mass killings. A threat of mass killing. Terrorism is an ideology, mostly with religion. When they tell you that you are an infidel and you must die because you don't believe in certain religion, that is terrorism. And if by this day, after your education, after your exposure, especially some of you who are living in London, some are living in America, many of you are living outside Nigeria, many of you have never seen a soldier with gun where you are living, but you will easily recommend that for Nigerians. And you are abusing Nnamdi Kanu that calls Nigeria a zoo. How could you feel comfortable when soldiers are killing civilians, armless civilians, and they are justifying that because of what Nnamdi Kanu said? How could the people pay for the crime of Kanu if he committed any crime at all? How could the people in government be this daft and wicked that many of you are urging them on? You are urging them on because to you, they deserve it. But when they will come for you, all they need is just to give you a name, tag you something, and get the law to back them up. And once the law back them up, they'll kill you. And another set of people will say, you deserve it. That is my own worry. IPOB is a non-violent organization. Everyone knows that. They are everywhere all over the world. They are more popular than Buhari himself. You know what I mean? They are peaceful people. If Kanu says what he shouldn't say, which I believe nobody can say, nobody can tell anyone what to say. If you think he said what he shouldn't say, take him to court. Don't call the army. That is how normal and sensible society operates. But look at us. Look at us. I've seen Yorubas justifying this. I've seen some of my brothers from the north justifying this. Because to them, it is a message to whoever tries the government. It's not about trying the government. It is about doing what the government doesn't want. And once the government says, we don't agree with that, they unleash the military on you. Whatever damages they manage to do, it will be in justification of what you did. Most of the time, it's not actually what you did. It is what the people around you do. That's the reality. Those they killed in the north, in Umuahia and the rest, many of them are actually bystanders. Many of them are actually not fully IPOB members. They shot at civilians. And you can sit back in your house, open your rotten mouth, open your rotten brain, and justify this. Until it comes to you. They came for the, they said they came for the, they went for the, for the Shiites. You kept quiet because you are not Shiite. They went to kill people in Southern Kaduna. You kept quiet because you are not from Southern Kaduna. They went as far as Benue to kill the people in Benue. You kept quiet because you are not from Benue. Now they are dealing with the Easterners. But because you are not from the East, they deserve it in a democracy. And you still believe that we are not animals? Even animals have courtesy. Yes, animals have courtesy. They don't kill indiscriminately. They kill when they are hungry. What can be the reason for the needless killing of civilians under this present democratic system of government? How can you justify this? How can anybody feel comfortable about this? How can you keep your own children in the house protected right now and justifying the killings of other youth in a particular part, in the East? Because Nnamdi Kanu says so. Because Nnamdi Kanu called for war. Nnamdi Kanu called for war. Let me go back to where it all began. Nnamdi Kanu is someone I would call, a loud mouth who knows how to use his mouth. He studied the Nigerian government and he knows those in charge of Nigerian government are illiterate. They are reactionary, just like their followers on the social media. Many of them who you see on the social media today, they are reactionaries. That's what they do. They say, oh, have you killed them? Bomb the whole place, kill Nnamdi Kanu, kill this, kill that. Because these are the people you find in government. When they find themselves in a position of authority, that's what they will do. They don't listen. They see every opposition as enmity. They see every disagreement as death warrant. So they must issue fatwa on you. The fatwa that you must die for daring the constituted authority. This is democracy. And you can't continue like this. You can't. There is no way you can survive if we keep urging these criminals on to keep bastardizing our democracy. You cannot survive it. It's just a matter of time. Election will come. Civilians will call on the military to come and protect our election. How weak and stupid are those in charge of our government is? Just check it. Very, very stupid set of people. You want to organize a civil event as civil as election, but you must call in the military because to you, a decapitated or demoralized police force can't handle that. Yes, it's psychological. When people in government believe that their police is incapable of maintaining civil order in the country, that is a failure. That is, electing. You know what I mean? I'm going to quickly answer that, Shoko J. Saba. There is no procedure laid down for this process. Yes. In our constitution, some criminals, they put it in there that Nigeria unity is not negotiable. Nigeria is indissoluble entity. So they did that because of those who are going to be benefiting from that system. The Northerners who are defending the current government, they are doing so out of ignorance, out of poor education. You know why? In the history of Nigeria, we have had over 40 years, out of 57 years, we have had over 40 years of Northern rule. But have you visited the North lately? Have you visited them, their villages and remote areas? And tell me that the Northerners are benefiting from leading Nigeria. No, they are not. That is the reality. Which means they are just like reactionaries, like every one of us. People who believe that once we have a man there, our lives will be better. Until they will realize later that after 4 years, 8 years, their lives is even worse than that man that came in met it. Go to the North. The poverty there, despite the huge amount of money Nigeria is allocating to that region, their elite steals the money. They steal the money and they render the populace, unproductive. Poor education, no job opportunity, not even that this stable power supply that many of us are crying over in Nigeria. Not that they even have that stable power supply there. But they will react and tell you, you know what I mean? They will react and tell you they hate Buhari. What has the love for Buhari done for you? What? Boko Haram are still there killing our people in large numbers. Nigerian military that are always tagged a terrorist organization. You see what they have turned Nigerian military to? Let me tell you this. When Nigerian military have never fought any war outside Nigeria to defend the integrity or territory of Nigeria. The first threat to our sovereignty as a country was the Southern Cameroon Bakassi Peninsula. That place alone, the people there said they are part of Nigeria. Cameroon said the land belongs to them. The people need to move. Guess what? The powerful, intelligent president in Nigeria then, Olusegun Obasanjo, ceded the land. He didn't want war. But when the OD, in Bayelsa, when the OD came up and they said they don't want soldiers in their community, and eventually it led to an attack, they killed 7 soldiers. Do you know what Obasanjo did? He unleashed a full battalion on the village. That is what the Nigerian army loves doing. They love going into civilian territory and shoot them at sight. So that when you see soldier, you run away. That is the only thing they know how to do. They don't know how to defend the territorial land of Nigeria. They don't know how to do that. They are not trained. Do you know why this Boko Haram issue lasted this long? Because Nigeria never trained our military how to prevent terror. We never did that. They go about in the bush getting training. They go abroad to get different trainings and all that. But when they come back, they have to use it on civilians. That's what they do. And if you have any alternative where you think Nigerian army has done so well outside Nigeria, probably you should tell me. This is what they do. Intimidate civilians. Kill them. And Amnesty International came and said, the military under this government have committed serious human rights crimes against the people they were meant to protect. They are fighting Boko Haram in the north, right? But when you see people they are killing, execution, that's what they are doing. They go into the villages that the Boko Haram members have sort of absconded from. Our army will go there, kill the women, kill the children, give them mass burial, and bury the case. That is what we do in my country. So you cannot tell me Nigerian army is protecting the integrity of Nigeria or territorial sovereignty of Nigeria when they are killing Nigerians inside Nigeria. Because we have illiterate, stark illiterate, leading the country. This is what you get. Instead of them to sit down and have critical thinking, when situation gets this bad, they don't think, they just order. Go and crush them. Because to them, once you wipe them off, the problem is gone. That's what they did with Mohammed Yusuf before the birth of Boko Haram. After Mohammed Yusuf died, they killed his uncle, They killed many people in his family until they now felt like, wow. So they won't stop. Boko Haram was birthed. And what happened after? Over 22,000 Nigerians met their untimely death, including our soldiers, because they followed the order. Go and do it. Kill them. Kill everybody that is protecting them. Do this, do that with our money. Nigeria government is spending huge amount of money on our military. Not because we are fighting any war anywhere, but because we are showing power of force to our civilians in our own country. We are not investing in education. We are not investing in healthcare. We are not investing in job creation. We are not investing in the future. We are investing in the threat to those in power. Because only those in power that feel threatened by any voice that runs contrary to what they believe in. And this is unacceptable. It should be unacceptable to you. You know, if you are truly educated and you are not blinded by this APC rubbish or this PDP sentiment or this Amawusa or Amigbo and all that mentality, you must condemn this because it's happening to the Igbos. It's coming to every tribe. It's been to Zaria. It's been to Southern Kaduna. They've been to Benue. They've been to Ekiti. They kidnapped a Yoruba leader, Olufalaye, in Ekiti. Yeah, I mean, no. They attacked his farm twice. That one is a known personality. You know what I mean? So you don't use military to crush your, what do you call it, any uprising in your own country. They are citizens of Nigeria and they have every right to protest against anything that does not serve their interest. Yes, only if we have educated people in charge. We have Malami. Malami is the Attorney General in Nigeria. He's a criminal. He's a criminal and he's an illiterate. Because you know why? If Malami had read our law as Attorney General of the Federation, he will know that deploying military to the southeast to kill civilians will have consequences. Yes. The records are being kept. People are keeping record now. And one day, Malami will come out. Buhari will come out. And the rest of them will come out. Buratai will come out. And they will show him his record. While he was there on killing spree in our, using the name of our army, of our military, Nigeria army. People will ask, you may not, or you may think it's never going to happen. We have a president that went to the United Nations. People, over 120 something people were killed in the southeast of Nigeria. Yes. Amnesty International released the figure. Yes, they did. So which means 127 people were killed, harmless people, in Abia State. Yes. Our president, even when the whole thing was happening, he was deaf and dumb. He was incommunicado. He was not concerned. Well, that won't be new. In fact, it will be a new thing if our president comes out to condemn any killing anywhere in Nigeria. Guess what they are turning the whole thing to? They are turning all of us to illiterates. They are turning us to dons, fools, that just have to take everything they give to us, hook, line, and sinker, and never complain. Yes, that's what they want to achieve. That is why that Lai Mohammed could come out to say all the rubbish he said. Because what? The killings didn't happen in Kwara State. Yes. Buhari can keep quiet because the killing didn't happen in Daura. Yes. So every other person who are supposed to speak up can keep quiet because it's not happening in their own domain. It's not. But my fear is this. The political class seems to be taking us into a journey of no return. That is what they are doing. When this government came in, the characters in the political party that formed this government all had one stone or the other to grind with some people or some tribes. That is the reality. It was the coming together of hateful people who spitted fire, people who spitted, unprintable, divisive, statement before the election. They gained power. They are taking revenge. They can disguise it in any name. They can cover it with anything. But they are taking revenge on those who once offended them when they were not in power. And you are just there, following them, listening to them, justifying them because of what is not happening to you. It's not happening to your tribe. It's not happening in your village. So it's all right. Teach them the lesson of their lives. And my fear is this. When illiterates lead the country, they lead the country to war. That's what happened. They don't believe in discussion, sitting down to discuss about our problems. Illiterates don't believe in that. To them, you must fear power and you must bow for power. Forgetting the fact that we are the people. The sovereignty belongs to us. We gave them that power through the constitution and we own the power. So whether you are president, governor, or whatever you call yourself, we gave you that power. We gave you that name. We gave you that respect and regard that you are currently flaunting about. Floating about everywhere. And we call on the people. Let me be honest with you. That they've not come to your area yet. It does not mean that they are not going to come. They are not going to come just because, not because you are not agitating for Oduduwa Republic yet, or Arewa Republic yet. They will come the day you stand against them. They are illiterate, obviously. Because if they are educated, those who are also illiterate, following them and pushing them on and then abusing everyone that tells them to do the right thing, it will get to your turn. It's not going to be in form of IPOP. It's not going to be in form of Christian Southern Kadunas. No. It's going to be on something that you also believe in and you think should happen in your domain and in your country. And they will take you out. Not just you. They will take more innocent people out just to warn you. And then you will realize that there is no point in pushing frustrated people to the corner. When you do, they turn around. They don't have anything to lose anymore. They know that the only thing they have to lose now is their lives. And most of them have already lost their lives in reality. Because existing in Nigeria is worse than living in hell for some people. You can't take that away from them. You can keep blaming them for their misfortunes. You can keep condemning them for what life has brought against them, upon them. You have a government in the country. The government that feel comfortable spending 2.7 trillion on buying arms and ammunition. You know what I mean? But failed to invest in education, to invest in a job creation. They won't do that. When they talk about that, they rub it on the surface. They make you feel like they are doing something when they are doing nothing. And the reality is going to hit us so bad. It's already happening. We now have kidnappers. I'm talking about large-scale kidnappers in Nigeria. We have people that are signing up to be suicide bombers in Nigeria. And you're sitting there thinking the government is doing the right thing, crushing and calling IPOB a terrorist organization. That is unacceptable and it is unconstitutional. Every action taken is illegal and should be challenged. And I've heard that they are challenging that already. These people are sort of, they are turning Nigeria. That's what they are doing. They are turning Nigeria to, to Sudan of Africa. We were supposed to be the giant of Africa. And guess what? Our president went to the United Nations. He was given a paper to sign non-nuclear treaty. The biggest nation, the biggest black nation on earth, the most populous black nation on earth, is led by lily-livered leaders. We have been having lily-livered leaders who care about themselves and the position they occupy. A country of 200 million people. Your president signed non-nuclear treaty. That means we must never develop nuclear energy, even to generate power. Yes, we can't do that. And we are the giant of Africa, where smaller countries in Europe are having their own nuclear head to protect themselves against external aggression. Nigeria is there signing the papers because they don't want to lose power. They don't want America to get angry. They don't want America to stop the money, the aid money that they get behind it all. That never gets to the people. So this is the reality of illiterates leading our country. Going to school, I believe so. Going to school does not really make you literate. Yes. Because if that should be the case, that going to school makes you literate, I don't think Malami of a person will rush to court a week after killing people in the East to justify the killing by labeling IPOB a terrorist organization. So shameful. So shameful. For a country like Nigeria, we are more or less like a disgrace to black race. I shared a video where a Ghanaian spoke eloquently about Nigerians. He spoke good about us because he knows that we have the brain, we have the talent, we have everything to make our lives better. But what do we have? We have criminals taking advantage of our ignorance to lord it over us and expect us to kowtow and bow for them, for whatever they say or do. We are all here. I know so many of you are, some of you have already started abusing me in the comments. It's just part of it. It's part of the illiteracy in our country, where many people who are educated believe that using force and using brute force to suppress civil uprising, or there's not even any uprising anywhere. It's called civil disobedience. When you say don't go out, everybody must stay indoor at so time. That's not terrorism. Those you are currently praising as the world leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, used this method to send this message to the to the British colonialist when he was fighting for the freedom of the Indians. He used this. It's called civil disobedience. Martin Luther King did the same when they boycotted the segregation law that was in place in America back then. Civil disobedience. You don't kill people for that. You don't jail people for that. When they have not done anything to harm the country they live in. You said they have formed their own army. And since you have dislodged them, have you also found their armory? Have you found where they kept their guns? Have you found where they keep their bombs? Have you found where they keep all their starch of weapons to use against Nigeria? So if a government comes to me to say your brother is a terrorist, I want proof, not insinuations. I want evidence that shows me that, oh, my brother is actually up to this. You call people terrorists? Terrorist. Everything that gets to Nigeria is always bastardized. Terrorists. And some illiterates on social media are justifying that. Even though they are educated, they claim to be educated. Illiterates. Terrorism. IPOB terrorism. Really? And you can't see the message. You can't see the direction this is going to. And you call yourself educated and exposed? Really? They will get to you. So for those who might want to say one or two things this afternoon, I'm going to open the line. So for those who have the number, call in. For those who don't have the number, I'm going to post the number. So for those who want to contribute. I received a call from, from a brother in Malta yesterday. He called in and he said, fortunately, he's a northerner. He called in and he said, everybody is bashing us in the north, thinking that we all agree to this madness going on and the rest. We had about an hour conversation on the phone. He is as worried as many of us. He is a northerner. He spoke to me at length of the, of the unprogressive politics of the north, of intentional plan to keep the north undereducated, so that they will have army of ignorant, uneducated youth to use every time they want to pursue an agenda. He is a northerner. He spoke to me yesterday. He recommended pastors to me to speak to on how to get this message more and more across. He is a northerner. So you can't love, what do you call it? You can't love the North more than some people. And you can't label everyone as terrorists just because they don't believe in what you are doing. There are better ways to go about it. If Nnamdi Kanu breaks any law, arrest him. Whereas, you've already arrested him. You said he broke many laws. But you can't prove that in a court of law. You know? So I have a caller, first caller. Good afternoon, my brother.
It's not a brother, it's a sister.
Ah, nice. So I have a female caller this afternoon.
From London.
Yeah, what is your name, man?
My name is
Sorry, what's your name?
My name is
Susie, okay.
Yes, please.
All right, go ahead, man. Quickly.
My wife already said, sorry, not my wife. You've already said it all. But the problem is not only president. I am from Abia, precisely, and I'll keep repeating it. The problem is not only the president. The problem is our governor. That's okay. Because other governors, I know they must have discussed all these things, and other governors disagreed with them. For instance, we heard that they even had to call Anambra State governor. He told them, no, why would he be in Anambra? We can't take Nnamdi off from Anambra. Remember what happened in the church, in Ozobodo Church? We're still trying to calm people down. So if anything should happen within Anambra State, maybe at the end of the day, there will be a war. For them to send the allies to Umuahia, meaning Governor Okezi Bazo approved it. I know many people have seen it from the angle I'm seeing it. Okezi Bazo approved it. There's no, even when we know that those armies are to obey the last order. Most of them are not even graduates. He deployed them to Abia State with the approval of the state governor. Look at what has been happening. Ekiti State governor, like, we learned that they want to send another troop to South.
Yeah, Operation Crocodile Smile.
Exactly. They are useless Operation Crocodile. I don't understand. To South. They are not just going there to do anything rather than to frustrate Ekiti State.
To create fear. You know?
Who has been telling them the truth? Who has already told the world that he will stand by the truth, even if they are sending him to his daily grave. And God will bless him for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, my sister. We will not stop talking. That's right, justifying rubbish. Just because you want to feel good. We don't know where he's next. We don't know. And we should be worried. Thank you so much, my sister, for your time. I'm going to take another call now. That's right. Thank you very much. So we have another caller. Your name and where you're calling from. Yeah, hello. Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very well. You need to increase that volume. You know, your voice is so low. Okay, I think it will be better now. Yeah. Please go ahead. Your name and where you're calling from.
Taiwo I'm calling from Casablanca, Morocco.
Okay, M.A. Taiwo.
Yes.
Please go ahead and make your contribution, sir.
All right, sir.
Oh, did we? I think we lost him. So I'll wait for another caller. That's M.A. Taiwo from Morocco. So the line sort of a cut off. So yeah, people are believing that. Okay, I think we have him back. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon.
Your name, sir, and where you calling from?
My name is Ade from Morocco.
Ade from Morocco.
Yeah, you know, I do always call on this program.
I do. I know. Please make your contribution now. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You know what happened? We really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
And you've been doing a very I think you've been doing a great work.
Thank you.
See, the issue that you are discussing this afternoon, this is the problem, you know. We are in a country whereby our major problem is fear, because the so-called that they have managed themselves to do that fear in every one of us, even up to our parents. If you remember, if there's a just a riot, if you want to go on the street to defend your right, your parents will start telling you don't go.
Exactly. They will kill you, they will arrest you, they will do this.
I remember 1993 during Abiola, it was the best time for every Nigerian to have shown their right. So it was then that we should have created our stand before our government, but we failed right from the home. Do you understand me? Even where we call our so-called religious place, the place of worship, they are just doing rubbish there. They only go there to tell you. Even the pastors, the so-called any kind of religion, they do their own program in a way to keep you in their own cage, whereby you cannot think beyond what they want you to see. So even the government is very far from the church or the so-called religion that we around that we attend. Because you know, to deal with any human being, first attack is mental faculty. Once you gain that, that person is yours. You can do anything.
So what do you think we should use as a way forward now in this case?
The way forward now is that, you know, we need all these educative programs like yours, because all these, like the youth in Nigeria, they need awareness. They need somebody to be letting them know their right, to open their eyes, to open their sense of reasoning, because they block it in a country that don't have access to internet. You do not see. Since you've been doing this program, I always follow you. How many people from that Nigeria that the problem is persisting have never called you on this program? It's people outside, because they don't have lights, they don't have internet, they don't have anything.
We may not have been receiving much call from Nigeria, but they do call.
No power supply, nothing. So how are we going to help those people in Nigeria? You understand? So the government they have succeeded in caging everybody. So if you want to read, you cannot read beyond beyond anything that is good. So you know, although to continue this program, I mean, this your efforts. I'm always putting in prayer that anyhow you fashion it, may God help all your group, even with us too. Any little thing we can do, or any way we know that we should break the yoke of this so-called monopoly of power to some group of people, those army family. So
thank you so much, my brother.
Let me give other people.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much, my brother.
You see now, they send all of us outside.
Yeah.
We take refuge on every country. Is that a right thing?
No.
So go ahead, Paul.
Thank you very much. So that's Ade from Morocco. So I've had other callers that missed their calls. So I'll wait for them to come by. My brother, I saw that comment. So I'm going to answer your reply that comment. Sky Republic. You see, I am someone who has always been against the type of system we run in Nigeria. You see, the system we run in Nigeria doesn't really matter if you are, whether you are military, you have military background, or you have civilian background. It doesn't really matter. It is the system. They are meant to protect the interest of whoever is in charge of that government. And doing so, if they have to kill, they will do. So whatever Jonathan did when he was in power, militarizing our election and the rest of it, are also illegal, unconstitutional. So it's the same. If Buhari leaves power today, the next person coming in will still use the system to frustrate and to oppress the citizenry. And that is what we are preaching against. So far, so good. So if we don't know what our government means, they will keep giving us this bullshit called governance. Yeah, good afternoon, my caller. Your name, sir?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Nandi.
Your name is what, Nandi?
Yeah, Nandi. I'm calling from Cambodia.
Okay, my brother, go ahead.
I've been following your program since for a while now, since all these things have been happening in Nigeria. But I learn a lot from what you teach in your page. And my little contribution is this, and I have to make it very fast. I've been sending this message to many of our youths for them to understand that if power keep changing. And if we civilians don't know our rights in that country called Nigeria, it's going to be very difficult for any youth to come up and stand and say what is right or what is wrong. Now, if they can be able to name IPOB a terrorist group, okay, let me ask them this. This is something that IPOB personally has been trying to avoid. Okay, if Nigerian government had definitely labeled IPOB a terrorist group, I hope they know the consequences of a terrorist group. It is very, very easy. Now they are just a protesters, which you can be able to find them anywhere where they are protesting, singing and beating their drums.
I've never seen terrorists do that in the open.
That is what I'm saying. Just little Boko Haram. In Nigeria today, we have so many fatalities, so many cultism in Nigeria that Nigerian military cannot even detect one of their camps. I'm just saying it in a very simple way.
They said France. You see how they are creating this diplomatic problem for Nigeria, and they will try to clear the mess at some point. Yeah.
If this young youth in IPOB decide tomorrow to become a terrorist, trust me, Nigerian government will also come out tomorrow and say they want to call them for dialogue.
That's right.
The best thing is, the name of that IPOB a terrorist, let them take it out of their record. Let them just label them as a protester or anti-protester. That one will be much more better. Because if these guys eventually start up as the war terrorists,
imagine the Attorney General going to court. Attorney General going to court to actually legalize this. That's my fear. Anyway, thank you very much.
So now my little advice I want to drop again. I want to drop this advice today. Be you Christian, be you Muslim, be you pastor, be you imam. Since this kind of thing has been started now, trust me, if any church stand up tomorrow and come and say any word against any of Nigeria,
they will tag them terrorists.
With the same thing that is going.
Yes.
They will label that church a terrorist group.
Yes.
If any monks stand up tomorrow and say that this is our government, we are facing this, they will label that mosque a terrorist group camp.
And people will believe them. Yes, the media.
And people will believe them, that this church is a terrorist group, that this mosque is a terrorist group, and people will believe them because you don't believe in their government. So I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of rights. Everybody has their fundamental human rights.
That's
Thank
right.
you. My only
God bless you. Thank you, Nnamdi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a beautiful day. So I have another caller here, and I think it's from London. Your name?
Hello, my name is Sylvia. I'm calling from London.
Oh, Sophia. It's good to have you here. I have another lady.
Yes.
So please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Badero, for what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Proscribing of IPOB as a terrorist group is unacceptable and is wrong. And they know it. They know it's wrong. And, it doesn't bother me that the so-called Nigerian government are prescribing them as wrong, because they know that this agitation from IPOB is exposing the ills and the evil that's currently going on in Nigeria. This is actually, since the MKO Abiola uprising, this is the next uprising that has been bold enough to face the Nigerian government without fear. And what they're trying to do now is to quash everybody, to put everyone into, to be scared. And we mustn't allow that, especially the young people. It really bothers me when people say, but Nnamdi Kanu is a terrorist because he requested for weapons.
Imagine.
First of all, when did he make that interview? That interview was years ago. If he was a terrorist, do you think he would make that open announcement in front of over 10 media people there? Listen, we all know the world we live in. Terrorists, when Osama bin Laden, he procured all these things in the hidden. They went underground. This Boko Haram now in Nigeria is a terrorist organization. They procure their arms. They go underground. Till tomorrow, we're still saying, who arms these people?
Who are their sponsors?
Do you understand? Nnamdi Kanu does not have arms. Yes, he is speaking with anger. He is bitter. The truth of the matter is, I'm not an IPOB member, but believe you me, this guy has stood up and spoken for every Nigerian. Let us not be deceived and think he's only speaking for the Igbos. He is actually being bold and facing the evil dictatorship we call leaders in Nigeria. And, that is what bothers me. When young people say, oh, he's a terrorist. How can a terrorist tell you he doesn't want to be violent? How can a terrorist tell you he does not want to be
killings?
Violent? He does not believe in killings. Can anybody tell me how many people has IPOB killed? How many people?
0.
But yet, we have the Hausa Fulani, the Fulani, the herdsmen, going into regions, communities, and killing people with temerity and impetus, and they are tagged as criminals. Can you see the country we live in, and you call that fairness? My dear brother, it is despicable. This Nigerian thing brings shame. It brings shame upon we Nigerians that we're trying to be better, to change the reputation we have outside.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I appreciate that, and you are straight to the point, with your presentation. I love that. Thank you so much. I'll give other people a chance to also, make contribution.
Thank you. But what I want to say, please, my brother.
Okay. Let me allow you to round up. Yeah.
Please, let the youth be honest. Since our fathers and grandfathers are doomed to lie to their grave. This is not about ethnicity. This is not about Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, Igbo. This is about when something is not working, we say it's not working. Because at the end of the day, after this agitation, and by God's grace, we stand up and have leaders that are accountable. All of us will reap the benefits. We will enjoy Nigeria for better. Whether we go our separate ways or together, we will enjoy where we are, where we have leaders that are accountable and they can say the truth. So this is the time for the leaders, for the youth, to stand up for the right thing.
That's right.
When you see something is not working, say it's not working, regardless of who is there.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. You have a good afternoon, Sophia.
You too.
God bless you. Yeah. Cheers, man. Cheers. So that's my, a caller from London. Straight to the point. I like people like that who are like, when you feel the pulse of these shenanigans going on in Nigeria, and you just feel like, come on, we are humans. We have brains. How could people with little education, exposed illiterates, be telling us how to think and what to think and when to think? Is unacceptable. We should say it to them loud and clear. It's unacceptable. Good afternoon, my caller. Your name, sir?
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry, your name again? Hello.
Taiwo from Casablanca.
Oh, is that Taiwo calling back? Okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I'm usually, follow you. Follow your and I see a lot of instead of what you try to.
What happened to your line, my brother? You are breaking up, and we could hardly hear you. I don't know. I think it's the line. Yeah, it was like off on.
I see. Then try to go back again.
Yeah, let's see what it looks like when you come back again. Yeah. Try. Yeah, I have another caller here. So your name and where you calling from, sir or ma? Good afternoon. You are live?
Yeah, my name is Gabriel, calling from Mexico.
Gabriel from Mexico. Please go ahead and make your presentation.
Yeah, really appreciate your effort, your time.
Thank you.
To enlighten people. And I'm using this opportunity also to give some advice.
Okay.
So, because we are not 100% perfect.
That's right.
So, I'm a fan of yours, and I need to share your program.
Thank you.
For my people to be enlightened. For them to know the right and from the wrong. Some people get back to me that, that the video I share to them, that the man is too important, is like using a word to abuse people. So I tell them, sorry, you know what, they should pick what is good there and
maybe they should just learn on what you say. So I'm just using this medium or this opportunity to say, we have so many people that you want to learn.
That's right.
But when they hear the artistic word for us, they will say no. Why this artistic language?
I see that.
You are not ready to listen to. So that will help in one area.
That's
and
good.
The second area I would like to also shed light upon is not to be a party like, a party. Because some people might be, no, maybe we are supporting a party or we are supporting PDP or APC. But try to enlighten them. I show them a lot of your videos that you are not a party, you are not any party, this is not a party platform. So,
I'll quickly say something there because I don't know more what else you want to add. But before I forget, right? So what happened is that, you know, in Nigeria today, if you say anything opposing to the government, it is either you are paid to do that or you are just one of the disgruntled PDP members who lost power. But for those who have been following me, for, you know, for a long time now, they will tell you that when it comes to the presidential election in 2015, I took a stand as a Nigerian. After reviewing every, every information at my disposal concerning the two candidates. So, and now immediately after the election, when this government came in and they started their anti-corruption fight and all that, I also wanted to look into to available information that they are presenting to the public. It was making sense at first until it stopped making sense, if you know what I mean. So when government told us that they've recovered 3 trillion from looters, and we are planning to go and borrow 2 trillion to finance our budget, does that make any sense to you? But sentiment won't make people see that. They will say, just keep quiet. They've stolen a lot of money. I said, okay, I agree. They stole a lot of money. Now we have someone who is fighting to recover the money. Now he told us point blank, said, we've recovered 3 trillions. That's a lot of money. But when that same government now came back to say, we want to go and borrow 2 trillion to finance our budget, does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense.
So I always love to present what I'm doing with facts. Just like I would love people to engage me on these facts. But you know Nigerians now, they say, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. The man is trying. They just want to hear he's trying. And I keep telling people that you didn't elect officials in Nigeria to go and try. You elected them to go and work for you. If those who were there yesterday were doing it right, my brother, you wouldn't change them, would you?
Not at all.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my brother Gabriel. But on the usage of word, you know, on my usage of word and all that, right? I will work on that for the sake of someone like you who believes so much in what I'm doing, and you don't want to lose, you know, followers that you're trying to bring on. So I'll work on that. Yeah. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So that's a caller from Mexico, Gabriel. So we have another caller here, and I think it's from London. Your name, sir? You are on. Yeah, your name and where you calling from.
Thank you very much. This is George. You're calling from London, my man.
Oh, George, my man.
Yeah, how you doing, my brother?
I'm all right. To yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine, my brother. I see the system. The winter's coming back. I just want to chip a little bit. For all the whole shenanigan and mediocre that has been going on for a little while now. I love our sister that called from London. You know, I want to put every sentiment aside and focus on the reality that we live in.
Good.
I'm going to speak generally. I'm not going to say it because I'm an IPO. Because for the record, people should understand that IPO is for the indigenous people of Biafra. The indigenous people, the people that own the land. Be from Anambra, be from Imo. So automatically when you prescribe this particular set of people, is everybody that covers that particular region. You have already laid out what is it called?
Terrorists, exactly.
But it is very, very, very ironic that those that don't have moral or don't understand the word, they use that word often. You see, let me just talk about in general, because I used to be in Nigeria. I used to see myself as a Nigerian. Till somebody told me, come back, where you're going, there's no future there. And from that moment, I start thinking differently. You see, the problem average Nigerian man has, they don't accept self-criticism. Self-criticism. You have to criticize yourself first.
That's right.
I don't have self-pity. I'm not going to come out on the street of London and telling British people, oh, you're my problem. They're not my problem. My problem is my forefather that allowed them to overcome them and slave them. They are the people we should be worried about. Our problem is that what's the solution to our problems? Are you bringing anything on the table? Let me tell you something. I saw some people on the there's one guy they call this so-called Jay. You know, the guy been blabbing on the wall.
He may be, you know, one thing is this. I forgot to add that he may be a member of BMC. They have invaded my page. The moment I've started talking about this Biafra of the thing, they have invaded my page. They use Yoruba names, they use Igbo names, they use Hausa names. They are not real. They are criminals feeding from that corrupt system. So they are on my page and they use different names. You can't trace them. Click their profile, you'll find nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. But they come to Radio Biafra. They come to Radio Biafra London as well. They come on our Facebook page as well. They come on our Facebook page. We know them, but what I'm saying is that I don't know if those that prescribe themselves to be a Nigerian have they sat down, and see how people will look at them in the present world, in the reality. Forget about all this shit.
They don't care. George, let me be honest with you. These guys are worse than the worst of the health. You know what I mean? They don't care. That is why they can feel comfortable and go to bed at night knowing that they gave an order that killed women and children, armless youth. You know what I mean? So they don't give a damn about what the world say about them. They are in their own world in Nigeria. You know? And not until we take it back to them, just like Nnamdi Kanu did. Many people are still going to go back to Nigeria. I'm going back to Nigeria next year, if you know what I mean. So we are taking this home. We are going home and we are going to lead this. And we're going to change this system by challenging it first, if you know what I mean. But you can't challenge them if you have this ignorance population. People who will tell you that, don't let them kill you. They will kill you. They will put you in jail, this and that. You can't succeed. You can't succeed in challenging the system with ignorant set of people. That is what I'm doing now. Educating them. Bringing them to know what they deserve. That they deserve better in that country. And not minute number of people who keep lording it over all of us and getting away with it. A time is coming and it's going to end. Yes. But we will do that with the instrument of educated Nigerians. I mean, enlightened and reoriented, Nigerians who ask questions and will wait to get answers.
Let me say something to you, my brother.
Go ahead, sir.
You see, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
You see, the problem you're talking about here is not about being educated or not. Education plays its part. But when you see somebody that called himself a professor in Nigerian settings, and I saw, right? Because these people don't have moral. I don't know how they got their degrees. I don't know how they process things in their brains. Because if you see what is happening right now, you know, I'm an IPOB member, and I'm one of the principal officers here in London. What they did to our leader's house, my brother, let's rewind a little bit. Nigeria is supposed to be a sovereign state, a country of the world are looking up to. Presumably, to say that the giant of Africa, which they never be, in population like people live less than an animal. Now, if a government wants to carry a hit, they don't know how to do it. They come out on a broad daylight and carry terrorist attack on a single man, and he rode armor tank to make 4 attempts to enter his compound.
And they have no remorse. They don't have remorse over that.
Listen to me. On the 4th day, they did it on broad daylight, and they was on Facebook Live. And it was on Facebook Live when they shooting all this gun. Let me tell you something, yeah? If the Nigerian army was this active, they would have Boko Haram. You see, Boko Haram, it wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Every Nigeria have to go back and ponder to themselves this. You went to Nnamdi Kanu's house, the man he called terrorist. He doesn't have a machete, yeah? He shot this kind of a gun, yeah? And went home and sleep. What do you think Nnamdi Kanu would do to you if Nnamdi Kanu decided to pick up a gun? You think he's going to pick up a more time to come to fight with you?
No.
Do you think that?
No.
So for these people that are wrapping their mouth and yapping, let them continue, yeah? the war they are praying for, let them pray very well. Yeah? Because when that war starts, it's going to start from their own domain. It's not in our land. I want to say that George said this to you. I want them to listen to me. It's not about blabbing.
That's right.
Nigeria, let me tell you something. Nigeria does not have defense. We know how Nigerian defense work.
That's right.
We tell them that we fought 1967 to 70. Our forefathers did it. But 2017, we are all over the world. Terrorists prescribing is a joke to us because at the end of the day, we just demonstrated in London and we're going to demonstrate again in London. Yeah? And Lai Mohammed said they want to shut down our radio. They're yapping where our money is coming from. They're going to be dilemma because they're going to provide Nnamdi Kanu and his family because the Nigerian government is holding them. When we haven't answered them yet because Nigeria is going to dance the dance of the spirit. Our people call it Sugre dance. They will dance that too and we kill it for them. They will dance it. This generation, Nigeria is not the first empire that ruled. Great Britain, Roman Empire ruled them. Second World War came here. Hitler went to ground zero. The Soviet Union, 15 countries come out of it. Nigeria has no background. It has no foundation to say that it's not indivisible. Anybody using that word is just illiterate.
That's right.
So those that call themselves Nigeria need to go and look themselves in the mirror.
Nigeria is a product of George, my brother. Nigeria is a product of negotiation. You know that? Nigeria didn't come to be until the three regions met in the 50s to decide how they wanted to be, to be ruled, how they want to rule their regions. That's when we got independence. So it was Nigeria, even when in 1957, when the two regions, the East and the West, said they were ready for independence, did not say they were not ready. That's negotiation. And when they were ready, we got a country, an independent. I mean, we got independence, didn't we? So who now say Nigeria is non-negotiable? Who the hell will say that and you say you are educated?
You see the problem here. Let me tell you something some people don't understand. Yeah, like you just rightly said that all Eastern region and the West agreed for independence, but the North was not ready. And if not today, North is not ready because North is not ruling. Do you understand what happened? Yeah, I'm gonna give you the United Kingdom. We all live here. And like our leader said, they have studied here, they have studied them, the way they behave and everything. If you remember what happened, it was after when Boris Johnson went to the Nigeria, after what do you call former Prime Minister went there, Tony Blair, whatever they call his name, went there, went to Sokoto. After that, when this guy went back now and come back, that's why they tried to take all these steps that are trying to slaughter our leader. I don't know where they kept him, they killed him or whatsoever. But the thing is that I don't know if the even British themselves, they're still thinking we live in 1914. They don't know we live among them now. And this generation are quite different from those that deal with them then. Those are like Azikiwe and Awolowo, those who are fought for independence. Because Hausas, we are not ready, and they are not even ready tomorrow. I want to say one thing now, I'm going to drop here now, yeah? Good. For some people that quickly say, oh, the Igbos don't love themselves, and I keep on asking people, can you show me one tribe in Africa, I'm not saying in Nigeria, but I travel around Africa that love themselves more than Igbo. Let me tell you one thing. Only in Igbo land, in Biafra land, you see somebody, an Anambra man will go to River State and pick up somebody there and train him and make him a millionaire. It's only in my land you see somebody will take somebody and train you from primary school to secondary school without asking your parents to pay them back. I haven't seen anybody doing that often in Nigeria. I lived in Lagos. I know what's happening in Lagos. I got so many friends, Yoruba are my friend. I'm literally a Yoruba, Lagos brought up, so I know what it is. Is it Hausa man that take all his kids, one person, one allergy, yeah? Then he went to Karatu school. Then now he took all his kids and bring them to England or America. Then in that village, in that Hausa man that ruled the village, when you come back, all of them will come and kneel down and with plate and begging food. 95% of your youths in your community are illiterate and beggars. Is that what you call law? If the man was born a free man, we are a republic and we ask questions. When I went back to Nigeria the last time, my son stand against me that I'm sending him to school. He asked me, Dad, what you doing is not right. We ask questions. And that's why some people presume that, oh, Igbo man, we love ourselves. You show me any other tribe in Nigeria that love themselves more than Igbo man, then let's go and debate and give me one reason why. So I want to stop here. But let them not go and start, because prescribe, we're not talking about terrorism, because terrorism is a world affair. Yeah, because people have to see your act before they pronounce you terrorism. Let Nigeria everything and dancing because they're trying to. They have committed genocide again in Biafra land. They're trying to cover it up, but this time around, Our leader told them, Nigeria, I'm going to destroy you with truth and technology, and we are doing it now. After this, Nigeria will never be the same. Thank you for your good work, and God bless you.
Thank you, George, and you have a beautiful day. So that is my brother from London. Is actually one of the strong IPOB members in the diaspora. Yeah, he introduced himself as that at some point. But I'm coming back. Good afternoon, my caller. Your name?
My name is Peter. I'm calling from the United Kingdom.
Peter.
Yes, Aberdeen precisely.
Aberdeen. Please go ahead.
Good, the killers here.
You know, it's nothing.
My brother, I thank you so much for giving me this platform to share my views. Me personally, I advocate for peace. Peace is the key of our problem right now. We need the solution. Our military and our judiciary, the way they are going about this kind of problem is not going to solve the problem. Nothing like negotiation. With negotiation, things can be settled.
That's right.
You see, Britain went out from United Kingdom. They're still negotiating, which is going to take them 2 years. So the very big mistake our government did is not to negotiate with Kano than to storm his house and start brutalizing
and killing people. They killed 22 people in front of his house, including his sister, his own sister. I saw the burial of the sister, and you're saying they're not calling for war. Anyway, time will tell.
My brother, and also if we can flash back, when Kano became popular, when he was arrested and they refused to grant, court granted him bail and the court refused to let him go. That is when Kano became popular. Nigerian government trying to make the same mistake again.
That's what they are doing.
That's what they are doing.
And the poorly educated Nigerians are urging them on. Until the whole thing scatters, more people killed, and at the end of the day, they will now start calling for truce. Let's sit down and talk.
Yes, because was granted bail, and the federal government refused to let him go. That is when people begin to ask who. That is when people begin to join IPOB and saying this is injustice. It's the same thing that is happening now. People who did not support IPOB are marching for protest now. You see where I'm going? See where I'm coming from now?
That's right.
So people begin to see injustice now. Okay, how can you label IPOB a terrorist group? A group that goes to United Nations to
they protested in London after you call them terrorist group. They got a permission to protest, and they protested in London. They also protested in front of the United Nations in New York. And some illiterates in Nigeria are bragging about, illiterates in power are bragging about telling us he's a terrorist. And the poorly educated followers of theirs believe that he is a terrorist too. Kill him, kill his family, kill everybody. Any IPOB member you see, arrest them, kill them. Poor education. Poor education.
There's something people don't understand. IPOB issue is not issue. It's just like an egg. IPOB issue is not issue that got to use force. Because when they kill one Igbo man, it touches everybody. I'm not an IPOB member, but the day I saw the brutality, how they vandalized the Kano.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, please hold on for the current speaker. I'll bring you on in a minute now, sir.
Cannot expect every Igbo man to be happy when they are killing his brother. So there shouldn't be this issue to tribal issue again that will lead to big
more bloodshed and all that. I know.
Yeah, because IPOB is nationwide, and you should know that the people they see that protesting They are not the IPOB. The men IPOB is 90% of IPOBs are educated. They have intellectual. They have everything you can think of. So if they are doing it this way, they can never do this way with IPOB. They should know that they can never win IPOB.
It is well, my brother. Thank you. I'm going to have to pass you now. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to bring someone on. God bless you for your contribution. Yeah, good afternoon, my caller. I think it's from Germany.
Yes, good
Please,
afternoon, my brother.
your name, sir, and I've known where you're calling from. What do you say?
This is Afua Steven from calling from Germany.
Okay, Afua Steven. So, calling from Germany. Go ahead, sir. Your presentation.
Yes, firstly, I want to thank you for the good job you are doing.
Thank you.
Firstly, I want to thank you for the good job you are doing.
Thank you.
And may God bless you mightily for giving us enlightening us more. And secondly, I want to urge you to let this your broadcast to be broad.
I'm with you.
Because most of us don't understand what Nnamdi Mika is doing for us. Most of the youth don't understand it. Because what I notice, what I see, he is trying to liberate us, the youth. He's trying to make the youth to have their own power. He is not fighting for his own Igbo or IPOB alone. He's fighting for everybody. This is what I noticed.
Because everything he's talking about is the same problem the Yorubas are facing, the same problem the Hausas are facing, the Fulani Hausa and all that. We are all facing that, but politicians, the political class, they keep covering our faces with veil so that we'll keep arguing blindly on the social media, like people who are never educated, like we are stark illiterate, people who claim to go to school.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly. I am from Edo State, precisely.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm with you. It's like when you speak, you go back to listen to the broadcast. Please, you have to leave the broadcast aside now. So you just keep talking now, please. See, I can hear myself. I can hear myself from the... So you have to turn that off and speak to us, please.
What I'm trying to say, you should try to enlighten the youth more. Because what we really want, we want to know, we want to be aware of what is going on. Like what I was watching of lately, like yesterday, there is NGO that came out. That NGO means that it's an antivirus NGO. It's unheard of to see an NGO like that in a nation called Nigeria. An NGO that will limit you, that have come to limit our blessing, that have come to limit our destiny, that come to put us in a stage of not going forward, not moving back. That everything we plan will die in within our mind. That is not a democracy. That is not a democracy. You understand? That's what I urge you. You should please enlighten the youth more. Let this your broadcast be broad. I don't know how to. I've managed to share this very broadcast now for people to hear and see what you are doing. You understand? Because I've seen Nnamdi Kanu as a person that come to bring light to us. But I told to people that whoever that is not with Nnamdi Kanu is anti-progress to the nation. It's anti-progress to the nation because we all should join hands to do Nnamdi Kanu. We cannot come, for instance, now, at the end of the day, we're able to divide the IPOB and the BRAFA took their power. The middle class took their power. The Oduduwa were able to settle their own case. Nnamdi cannot come to middle belt to Komaru. We, the middle belt, will have to find a way how to bring up a reliable person that will direct us, that will lead us, that will lead us to the next level in life. You understand? But the essence of being against Nnamdi Kanu, the most of, because I think my own view of the thing is that anybody that is against Nnamdi Kanu is among of those anti-progress people, those this recent government that is taking place now. You understand? They have one way or the other where they are gaining
from this particular government.
That's right.
And those people, they are self-centered, they are self-people, they are not free to be a human being on earth, to live as a human being on earth. Because I see no reason why we should be criticizing a man that has come to bring light to us, that has come to make the youth, where I've been hearing the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. But when can we be the real leaders of tomorrow? Those governors that are fighting against the country, they are there for their own selfish interest.
That's right.
I told members, I told people, I said, anybody has the right now, I want to be a councillor, I want to own that either PDP or
APC or whatever they call it.
APC party. Those boys, you are there to fight for your own selfish interest.
That's right.
All hands need to be on deck for the country, for us to be liberated, for us to get out of this siege. Nigeria we're in a state of siege right now. I told them, I said, this Buhari is not a genuine president. He has come to bring us backward. What we were unable to acquire while he was in the military regime, he has come to acquire them because he found out that Nigeria now is not a corrupt country that he can do anything he likes. That is why he's fighting the Christians, he's fighting whatsoever, he's fighting everybody. He has never talked of why killing the Christians, but he went to the
United Nations.
They met in the U.S. Yes, the national. So he was started telling them, he started to speak about the Muslim, why killing Muslims. But you let your home, you let your home in the hell of fire.
He was talking about North Korea and talking about the Rhodesia Muslim killings and all that. He was talking about Palestine and all that. The man is just creating more problems for everyone. And like I said, the poor education in Nigeria will make anybody accept anything as long as it serves their interest. Because they don't even know. Do they know? They don't know. And my fear and worry is for those who claim to be educated but are worse than stark illiterate. There are many on social media. They claim to be educated. They claim to be exposed. Some of them live outside Nigeria. Well, brother, they are worse than people living in Sudan. Their thinking and every other thing is worse than people living in Sudan, facing everyday killings from the rebels and from the government, who considers everyone in a particular side as rebels. Kill them. If you know what I mean. So, but we won't stop talking. We won't stop talking. That's just it. We will not stop talking. We will not stop encouraging people to stand up and demand for their rights. And then at some point, the hunter will become the hunted. Write it down today. Thank you so much for your time, my brother Stephen. So I'll let you go for now, so I can give other people a chance to also phone in.
Thank you so much for your work.
God bless you.
God
bless you. Bye.
Yeah.
That's my brother from Germany. Everyone is my brother. If you call me from, if you are from the north and you call me, I don't have problem with any Nigerian, be it Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba. I don't have any problem. My only problem is this: when you stop feeling like human, when you stop thinking like human being, then we have problem. I have studied the people in government, and they always have this one agenda, and the agenda is I must never be questioned. That's the agenda. And the moment you try to challenge what they believe in, they will unleash whatever force they can use, anything they can use, and they will justify it. Because when the state commits crime, it is always justified, you know. They will justify it by naming you something, gazetting it, and it's law. They won't give you a chance to question it. So I don't have any enemy anywhere. I don't look at people like many look at them. He's from the east, he's from the west, he's from the north. I don't look at people like that. I deal with people based on what they have here and what they have to present, not the charlatans, the poorly educated ones who are also flexing on social media. And guess what? The poverty in that country has done a lot of damage to the people's psyche, and it's working. Yes, when you work and your salary is not paid, you'll be made to beg your governor to give you your salary. When you need your pension, you have to go to the church and pray that God should touch your governor's heart so that he can pay your pension. And this mentality is what many who are today preachers on social media and supporters of evil, that's what they cling on. They have something in the system that many of you don't even know about. They are gaining from the system or looking forward to gaining from the system. Breaking the system away is something they will work against, even though they themselves are not better than slaves in their thoughts and in their deeds. So, sorry, my caller, I think I lost that call. So, the day we start seeing ourselves as the victim of the brute system that this current, this Nigeria, wherever, is promoting. From the day you start seeing it that way, and you start looking beyond the car they gave you, beyond the money they promised you, beyond the job they promised you, and they're probably beyond the political appointment they are promising you. The day you start looking beyond that, that's the day you get to start, you start seeing the bigger picture. Your destiny can be in your hands. You can mold it to your own satisfaction and according to your own form, so to say. So which means if you don't believe in yourself, you give room to all these criminals who found themselves in power to take advantage of you. And mostly, they use you negatively. I've read a comment from the one Adewale there. You see, what do you call it? Life is vice versa. That's what life is. Like I said from the beginning of this broadcast, when they are not feeling the heat, they can tell you that the fire is not enough. Yes. When they are not feeling or even seeing the smoke from the fire set up in another region, they will tell you the fire is not even much. You should turn it high so that it can burn many other people, including generation unborn. That is animal thought. That is how animals think. Good afternoon, my caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Bernard. I'm calling from London.
Bernard.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead and make your contribution, sir.
I want to say thank you for this wonderful job you are doing. But I think the problem of Nigeria is not our leaders, it's we, the youth. The youth are the problem. Because I don't even think if people go, if they've ever been outside the country. Because if you see youth, after you graduated from uni, you spend 6-7 years in the university just to acquire a certificate, and then there is no job for you. And only few are just...
No, sorry to cut you there. Sorry, let me quickly say something to one guy there. I don't know how old he is, but he looks like one of these old, the demented people, right? Adewale, I will come to Nigeria. I'm not a criminal, and your government will not turn me to a criminal. So before I come to Nigeria, we will set the trap of what we expect you to do. And from there, we'll take it off from there. So you don't worry. To you, I have to come to Nigeria, get arrested, and get jailed for trying to liberate people like you, for trying to speak truth to you, for trying to tell you to save the future of your own unborn children. Because the moment you go, your children will end up as slaves. Yes, I will come to Nigeria. But who knows, when I will come to Nigeria, probably a stray bullet, or extra judicial killing that we record every time would have took it away, and then I will have to deal with the remnant. So go ahead, my brother Bernard.
Oh, thank you very much. I just want all the youth to know that one day we too will have our own children, and our own children will continue from where we've stopped. Because we have started long time ago. It's time for us to come together and support the writing and request for a change. Thank you very much.
God bless you, my brother Bernard.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we need to fight this. That's what 5 days, and we should find it fight it, with sense. That's what Bernard preached right there. That even if we can't finish it, we should do it to a respectable level where our children can take up and fight it to the end. So that's a very good one there. So we have lily-livered, criminals who are. You see, let me tell you something. You see, when the political class, when they took jobs, when they closed industries, when they started demolishing schools, especially in Yoruba land, right? They started creating another pseudo jobs for some never-do-wells, people who have failed in their personal lives. They call them political appointees, political jobbers. So these are the people who are now seeing themselves as important, as relevant, just because the system promotes them. The system promotes mediocrity over competence. The system jettisons competition for selection. And that is why people like them, when you see them, they put honorable in front of their name. Some of them put senator in front of their name. They are rogues. They are product of that system. And these are the people who are determined, who are discussing our future. They are those who are discussing what should be and what shouldn't be. That's what the political class did. They brought criminals, people with questionable characters, certificate forgers, you know, manipulators, criminals. They gave them job so that they will be relevant and be submissive and subservient to the power, I mean, to the system. So when you read them, don't take it to heart. They are just glorified slaves who are currently feeling that, you know, God has blessed them. God has made them better. This guy is talking rubbish. You know, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's sitting down in London and all that, and he's just talking. Those are the people. So, I'll wait for our next caller. And I think we've spent so much time on this tonight. So I'm going to take 1 or 2 calls before we end this. Yeah, good afternoon, my caller. Your name and where you calling from?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Your name, sir, and where you calling from?
I'm Onisheye. I'm calling you from Paris.
Oh, Onisheye, my brother. I think we spoke before. Yeah, all right, sir. Make your contribution.
Live on program?
I'm still very much live. You are lucky today. I remember the last time you called.
Sorry, I just have a few words to my brothers, most especially the Yoruba brothers. I want to really speak to the gullible one among us, because some of us are educated illiterate. Now, you pick your Bible on every Sunday you go to church to go and listen to the preach or whatever from your pastor. I'm not condemning any religion. I'm a Christian. Likewise, some people that believe in other religions, they go to their place of worship to go and listen to Imam and so on and so forth. Most of us really want to crucify this guy, Nnamdi Kanu.
Kill them, but we are Christians. We are Muslims. You know, and the two religions that preaches peace.
When you go to church on Sunday and you know that your pastor is preaching for you, basically because he wants to get offering and tithe from you. And the next Sunday you still wake up, you dress up, you put your Bible, and you still go to the same church or the same mosque. So what is the difference from, okay, if you are not agree with everything that Kanu is preaching, agreed, fine. But let's take the one that we know that is reasonable from what this guy was saying. This thing is affecting our life. It's going to affect our generation unborn. So this is not time to criticize someone. Let's see it from the right perspective. And let's assume that this is a cause that we all must stand for.
That's right.
And this is, we have to really, really enlighten the youth in Nigeria, because we have advantage to see the other side of the world. We see how things are working. But most of them, they believe that this thing is normal. They believe that without electricity, everything is normal. They believe that without good road, everything is normal. They believe they just believe everything is good with them. So something is really, really wrong with their mindset. So this is why we really need to engage them, to let them understand, to open their mind, to let them, we don't have to take it personal with most of them. Like
take it as war. That's right.
What does he call himself? They don't know that they are toying with their life, with their generation yet unborn, and we are going to be in this mess together.
That's
so
right.
This is the right time that we have to stand up. We have to make them to understand that this thing is not going to work. We have the same common enemy, and we have to speak out. This is the time. If we refuse to do it now, there is no any other time for us again.
Thank you.
Nnamdi Kanu or Nnamdi, the guy is saying the truth. And let's buy from the truth that he's saying. Whether you are Yoruba or Hausa or Fulani, it doesn't really matter. It's not working. It's not going to work. The system is a fair system. So if truly we really want to do something, we have to stand up now.
Thank you.
Speak the truth to ourselves.
Thank you very much.
It's not a tribal issue. It's not about Kanu. It's
That's
not
right.
about. They did the same thing they did to Kanu. They did it to Fela. There's no difference.
They called him a criminal. Fela was arrested with $1,000 or is it $600? The woman who fought for our independence, yeah.
They couldn't break in. They had to call the electricity authority to off the electricity.
The barbed wire, yeah, the electric wire.
They raped, they destroyed.
They killed people. They burned out the whole place, and they justified it because they said Fela. Sir, they said Fela started. Listen for a sec, sir. They said Fela started Kalakuta Republic in Nigeria. So people who never liked Fela, especially the Yorubas, they supported the invasion, the assault, and the killings, the burning down of his property. You remember that?
Oh, my brother, we have to keep on. I like what you are doing.
Thank you.
And I pray that may God give you more wisdom to continue.
Thank you.
We are not going to rest until we take the battle to our enemy.
Yes.
And this is the right time.
Yes.
We will fight them with everything that we have.
Yes.
We are not going back.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
So thank you.
So my greetings to our people in Paris. So I have another caller here, and that may be my last caller. Good afternoon, my caller. Your name's Mao, sir. You are live now. Your name?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Oh, your name and where you calling from?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Patricia calling from
Luxembourg. Patricia, right?
Yes.
Please listen to my own voice, not the voice of the broadcast there. I mean, you know, with you there. If not, we'll be having slow communication. So go ahead now and make your presentation, ma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are still listening. You are still listening to that broadcast instead of my own voice. You need to listen to my own voice on the phone, not the broadcast voice, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to reduce it now.
Please do.
Okay, it's
Thank
gone.
you.
First and foremost, thank you very much for your good job.
Thank you.
It's a very great job that you're doing, very risky, according to the threats that I know.
We have them. They threaten all the time.
That is why some of the people doesn't want to show off, their face in the camera for people to see them.
That's right.
Because I know very soon what Nigerian government will start doing now is checking all the flights that will be arriving to Nigeria and the country they are coming from.
That's right.
And the name, you understand? That is the next thing they are going to do, that I am sure of. Because the government will put their own people in charge of checking. Then you will see they will start putting people aside. You don't know what you did. You don't know what you did. You don't know it because of this broadcast we are doing here. So number two, our children, because of what is happening now, if they don't fight, if we don't fight for it, our children, they are going to suffer.
They'll keep complaining like us.
Yeah, they will start complaining. Look at I think the son of, I don't know whether the governor of Imo State or when he graduated, or Buhari, they said education in Nigeria is not good, but they are sending their children out of Nigeria to go and school.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, because now we are calling them illiterate, at the end of the day, their children now will be graduates and come and rule over our
and they'll be the leaders. They are the leaders of tomorrow. Their children are the leaders of tomorrow, not us.
Exactly. Because now, definitely, they will never allow the young people to take over. Never. Until their own children, until the governor children
are matured enough to take over.
All of them, when they are graduated, then they will come out to contest, and you will not say they are illiterate. You see what they are, you see what they are doing. That is number one. Number two is what they said Kanu is doing. Everybody said Kanu is doing. Where were they? Why couldn't they speak before Kanu came on board? Where were they? Where were
probably scared shit,
where were all these educated illiterates that are trying to justify? I saw a guy on Facebook yesterday trying to analyze, telling Kanu has a group of blah blah blah, this that. Where were they? Cowards. If you call anybody in Nigeria now, please help me. I want to come.
God bless you. And they don't want you to talk about Nigeria. They don't want you to say anything.
It's Nigeria good. Everybody wants to come out.
Thank you. Hypocrisy. I did a video, right? I did a video about a week ago now. And I said if Nigeria divides today, it is not Biafra that divides Nigeria. It is our hypocrisy, our lies, our pretense. When we are supposed to speak up, we keep quiet. But underground, they keep sending friend requests here and there, looking for people living abroad to beg for money. People living abroad to be friends with. But when you talk about their problem, telling them that you can fix this problem, you've not had the opportunity to travel out of Nigeria, stay there and fix your problem. They will say, shut up, what it concern you? You can't sit down there and be telling us what to do. But I can sit down here and they can be begging me for money. They can be begging everybody for money on social media.
Exactly.
But they don't want you to talk about their problems.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Go ahead. I just chip that in.
Yeah. Now, for example, somebody will come down from the airport. You will now disguise. Assuming you are putting on a fine sneakers, a good jacket, you will just quickly rush into the toilet, change to nonsense, and come out because you are afraid of the town. Because once they see you, it's either they follow you to rob you, and when you finally get to your family, you will not want to be there because you are afraid. You go and every night you will sneak away to a hotel, you sleep there. We are afraid, and yet we say Nigeria is good. And if you manage to say, okay, you want to stay in your father's compound, there is no light. You are about to go and get a hotel nearby. What is all this? And Nigerians are saying nothing to it.
No. They don't want you to talk about
it. Everything is good. Your child will finish education. By the time she or he is going to enroll for a job, they will ask you, what is your name? When must they ask their name? When must they ask,
where are you from? Your this, your that. Nationality or whatever.
Exactly. If an Hausa man is there, even for you to drop your name, maybe God touched his heart that day.
I have friends who have changed their names.
Can you imagine?
Just because they believe that they couldn't make it through the system if they don't bear a particular name from a particular region.
If you want to bring out goods, you have to use an Hausa name to bring out goods. Can you imagine? If you don't know one Alaji, or you lie, what is all this? What is, and you say it's a country.
It's not.
Everything is being taken to the north. Everything is being taken to the north.
But we all say that with sentiment, my sister. You need to go and watch how life is. You need to go and see that. You need to research on that. And you will come back disappointed. Everything we claim they take to the north, the northerners don't see them. It is their political class, the elite, that takes all of these things. So at the end of the day, they are deceiving everybody. We have Tinubu in Southwest. He's richer than all the Southwest states put together. All the Southwest states in Yoruba land. Put them together. Tinubu is richer than them. But a Yoruba man will stone you. He will shoot you. And if you have to use a voodoo on you, he will use it. If you dare stand up against Tinubu, I will stand against Tinubu. But it's a gradual process. Once I start seeing where he belongs, we will take him up. We will take him to the cleaners. This rubbish will stop. And that's why we are starting from our own home. Not defending what we didn't create. We did not create unity system in Nigeria. The political class created it. And we cannot defend it.
Just look at the vice president. He's just there as a figurehead, as a robot. He don't do anything. It's just for the northerners not to feel. Not for the world to feel. Why is this president Hausa, vice Hausa, and the other one Hausa? That was the reason why they had to shock him. The vice president. Look how he looks. Even before
he's a professor. He's a professor. Yeah, he looks like an houseboy in the system.
Look how he is now. Haggard, I'm sorry to use that word. He looks so haggard. Look at the Hausas. They are looking bulky with their dashiki. You see? Let them snap pictures together. You will sideline the Igbos and the Yorubas. You will just notice. But all the Hausas, they are looking bulky. They are looking at God.
It's a shame.
Nigeria. And you are saying what Nigeria? The Igbo governors, they are just playing. They are just
Just like every other governor in Nigeria. That's what is happening.
They don't accept, they will kill them all. The Igbo governors, they are just there, they are just figureheads. Osinbajo is just there, robot, nothing. The person is not doing anything, they are not allowing it. It's the cabal.
It's sad.
So let's blame Osinbajo and the Igbo governors. They are just there, just figureheads. They cannot say
because they are, you know one thing, my sister, there's a saying that you don't talk when you dey chop. And if you manage to say something when you dey eat, when you are eating, you will say rubbish. No one will hear what you are saying. You don't talk when you are eating. All of them are eating now. No matter how much they want to pretend they feel about this whole thing, they are eating. And they don't give a damn about any other person. Whoever stands up to threaten that is an enemy that all of them must collectively destroy. And that is what Nnamdi Kanu is facing.
Now, here in Europe where we are, a child of 6 years, you cannot talk to that child without him or her responding to you. You cannot lie. Here, a child will be asking the mother, Mama, what is your name? When were you born? Where did you come? What happened in Africa? Because they're teaching them every bullshit in school.
That's right.
African.
That's right.
An African woman, the date of birth of her father, she doesn't know.
Because they don't want to tell her.
As an African man, when last he celebrated his wife's birthday, they don't do it. But here in Europe, that is because I'm seeing some comments. They say, we don't have respect. We don't talk to elders like that in Africa. What elders? That is why we are dying.
Elders, my sister, let me back you up. Let me also back you up there for a minute, right? We have elders who came out to tell us that they needed to give us education. They have to give us health care. They have to give us houses. Like they have to give us homes over our heads. They need to provide jobs for us so that we can live like human beings, work, earn money, and then you probably raise family, right? All these basic necessity of life is missing. They couldn't provide them, but they feel offended when you tell them that you are rubbish leaders, you are useless leaders. They say, our culture doesn't support you abusing elders. What elders? Elders who betray their own trust, their own pledge. And they are telling me that I have to respect that man because he's an elderly man. I am a Yoruba man, my sister. I'm a Yoruba man. And in Yoruba land, until this politics got to this level, we don't condone, this criminality. Do you know that in Yoruba land, if a king, there's nobody as powerful as a king in his own kingdom. You know that? So if a king misbehave, they will tell him to go and open calabash and die so that it won't bring calamity over his people. But today in Nigeria, they will say, send him to, let us go and pray for him in Mecca. Let us go to Israel, Jerusalem and pray for him. We need to pray for our leaders. And the leaders are there just smiling. Like, look at them, foolish people, praying for leaders. Anyway, I'm just going to let you go now, my sister, Patricia.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you. Because Patricia happens to be, a Lagos-born Biafran. And she speaks Yoruba very, very fluently. And the first time I spoke to her, if she didn't come on to say, me and my husband, though, we're born in Lagos, I wouldn't even suspect anything that she's from the other side. Anyway, so thank you so much that I have you and I have your voice on this program today. And then, my regards to everybody. All right. Bye. Cheers. So now I'm going to bring this to an end. We've spent lots and lots of time this afternoon trying to pass information and trying to reorientate our youth that when people stand up to challenge the system will fight back. And they will use different means to fight back. One of them is use of force and the use of media. Before any government or any system goes out against any group of people in a country, they always have the media in their closet. So when they have them in their closet, so they can be dishing out what you should be what you should not be reading, so to say, to misdirect you, to miseducate you, and to get you as accomplice in supporting them, because what they are trying to crush is not something they want you to defend. It's not something they want you to fight, because the moment you fight them and those they want to crush also fight them, the system lose, and the system never likes losing. So that is why when they lose from both sides, they call for negotiation. And in this regard, the negotiation is still old. What we need right now is an apology from the government of Nigeria. We may not get that. Don't misunderstand me. But one day, this video will make sense to you. The Biafran people, the Easterners, the armless youths killed by our Nigerian soldiers in the East on the 11th of September 2017. They deserve apology, and they must fine. The military said they are going to carry out an investigation on the killings. But you and I know that instead of them carrying out the investigation, they went ahead to prescribe hip-hop so as to justify their action. There will never be any investigation. But one day, someone is going to emerge, and that person will be Nigerian president, not Hausa president, not Igbo president, not Yoruba president, but Nigeria president. And guess what? It will bring out all the injustices that has happened in that country. And you know what? Everyone will pay for what they've done to our country, past, present, and in the future. But for now, youth, your destiny is in your hands until you give it to politicians. You gave your destinies, your future, to politicians to manage, so that when they become elected officials, they can take care of you. But you have been doing that for years, right? From when you were 18. Democracy has been in Nigeria now for 18 years. Add that to your age. It makes it 36. So as a 36-year-old man, still living in your father's house, don't blame the witches. Don't blame the wizards. Don't blame that wicked pastor living next to your street. Blame your choice and the choices you have been making when it comes to the political choices. You know, blame that. And until you review that, until you look back and question your past decisions, guess what? Your situation is never going to get better. Your destiny cannot be taken care of by anybody but you. And until you know what you want, you cannot ask for it. Maybe we should give you time. Go and think about what you want with your life. Go and think about how to make your life better in Nigeria. Nigeria can be better only if we change our mindset. Mindset. If you don't change it, Nigeria will not change. We'll keep being ourselves enemies. We'll keep being on each other's throats, on one another's throats. And guess what? We'll keep complaining, lamenting, and dying from the system that we didn't install, from the system that was never our creation. So defending that system is out of ignorance. But until you question your existence, until you question what you want in life, until you are ready to get what you want in life, nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody is going to fight for you if you are not ready. So I'm going to hang the boot here. I'm going to draw the curtain here, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing, enlightening the people. To my friends who have been, been part of this program every now and then, I want to thank you, because you know what? Without you, I won't be coming back here every now and then. Your words of courage, your support, and then, your backing, let me use that word, has made me what I am doing today. Because when I get back from you, when I get feedbacks from you, I work on every feedback, and so far so good. You've all said we are doing fine. Now, let us walk the talk. Walk the talk. Question your existence, not what your political leader tells you. Start questioning your past decision too. And at the same time, if you know you've made some wrong moves, it is always better to change it. Until I see you next time, keep watching Mayegun's Diary, keep following Mayegun's Diary, and BMC, don't leave Mayegun's Diary. You will get educated on this page. Many of you will change your mind by the truth that you're going to learn from here. And at the end of the day, we will all work together and change a backward, retrogressive, stagnant system that has kept us all stagnant as a people. Right? Until I see you next time, don't stop watching the page. Good evening.
Welcome to First View Luxury Hotel. At First View Luxury Hotel, we offer excellent service. Our rooms have all the necessary facilities to make your stay comfortable and memorable. You will also have access to internet service, breakfast, 24-hour power supply, full air condition, free international calls, free tire pumping service, and free car battery charge. So what are you waiting for? Quickly visit First View Luxury Hotel. We are located at number 1 Adeline Bamishile off Raji Rasaki Road, First Estate, Amuwo, Odofin Festac, Lagos. For more information or reservation, please call us on 080-7578-7135 or 080-9990-0601. You can also take advantage of our online ongoing promo at www.firstviewhotel.com to make your reservation and payment for your favorite room, which attracts a discount rate. Please note, rooms are reserved based on first come, first serve. First View Luxury Hotel. Experience the home of comfort. They come.